welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Antonina Antosha with UATV. On July 11th through 12th this year, NATO summit will be held in Brussels. Among the topics on the agenda are further strengthening of the transatlantic bond, fighting terrorism, building up NATO's Black Sea presence, and increasing efforts against cyber attacks and hybrid threats. So what should Ukraine expect from this summit? To talk more about this, we're joined in the studio today by Andriy Karakuts. He's a senior research fellow at the National Institute for Strategic Studies. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So the topics on the agenda of the upcoming NATO summit are not new.
Yes.
They're very well known and they have been discussed for a while. So should we expect that there would be new decisions made or new agreements reached?
Concerning this NATO summit, it will not be like breakthrough, but at the same time it's very important because it's continuation of the previous decisions made by NATO about strengthening eastern flank, about developing further interoperability with partners, and also it is about changing NATO structure command and developing closer ties between countries of the bloc. And the biggest intrigue of this summit is behavior of Donald Trump. No one knows how he will react to such developments that are happening. For example, yesterday there was information that he wrote letter to several heads of states, Germany, Portugal, Canada, and in this letter he demanded further increases in the defense expenditures, and he wants from allies more input into defense for their countries. It will be not very smooth summit. It will be a summit with some problems, but at the same time, after this, we will see how NATO adapts to the new situation and new leadership in the United States.
But still, Donald Trump is not the only one making decisions for such a huge and such a great country as the United States of America. Those decisions need to be backed up by a lot of other officials. So does this actually mean that the word of Donald Trump himself can make a NATO summit into something, as you have said, not easy?
In several last months, Donald Trump changed head of State Department, changed his advisor on national security, and in many ways he now controls key decision-making about foreign policy. And that's why we are expecting that this summit will be somehow very similar what has happened in Toronto during J7 summit, when his presence after he visited it, yes, he tweeted several messages that allies need to make some changes in order to provide United States with some easing with trade. But in NATO case, we can say about easing with defense expenditures.
All right, but afterwards, after the G7 summit, Donald Trump went and had a historical meeting with Kim Jong-un. So, and we are all very well aware of the fact that on July 16th, there is a planned meeting between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. So could you dwell on that a little bit more?
This meeting also was proposed and organized in many ways by Donald Trump. He wanted to meet with Vladimir Putin, and first of all, there are many issues that need this summit. First of all, it's a strategic armament. We have in the situation when current treaty concluded by Obama and Medvedev is finishing. Also, we have this situation in Syria where the United States want to withdraw, and Russia viewed as some guarantor of not allowing further Iranian influence spread. And at the same time, there are possibilities that Ukraine will also be in the top agenda, and we can talk about this peacekeeping mission that was proposed last year and was discussed several months. and we have position of United States that this mission must be working on the whole territory of the occupied Donetsk and Lugansk, and Russia, country that objects it, can make some concessions, but at the same time this decision, if it will be made, it will take several months, so it's not like a big and quick victory, for example, for solving this crisis.
Still, the world leaders are at a little bit of unrest about this Putin and Trump meeting, and there is an article in Times saying that there are several ways of possible outcomes of that meeting, and one of those outcomes is that Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin will strike a deal, and Ukraine will suffer afterward. The deal will actually sell Ukraine out. Is that possible? How high is the possibility of that?
It could be possible in 1 year ago, when Trump was testing what he can do in American foreign policy, but after American Congress made this law about sanctions and really constrained what Trump can do with Russia, we can say only about some framework agreements that they can agree, for example, about that they do not agree about Crimea, or they want to solve Donbas war. But big deal that Putin wanted, now it's impossible. As you said, American administration has many players, and policy about Ukraine was already developed, and one person cannot change it without any consequences for his leadership.
Okay, that is great news. Now, coming back to the NATO summit, the upcoming NATO summit, what could Ukraine and what should Ukraine expect out of that summit?
There were many ideas what we can get from it, but as summit is approaching, we have a strange situation when one country of NATO now is blocking really any decision making, and yesterday Hungary declared that they will block any decision concerning Ukraine. So this summit results will not be something new for Ukraine. Why? Because during last summit in Warsaw in 2016, they were already made several decisions concerning Ukraine. First of all, it was aid package, then it was agreement about that fulfillment of this defense sector reform will make Ukraine closer to NATO, and we have now situation when Ukraine in the mid of this reforming process, and if we look at the strategic defense bulletin that was adopted by our country in 2016, it has several targets, and these targets they end in 2020, so in 2 years.
So we're still on the way.
Yeah, we have now possibility to show that Ukraine is on stable track of reforms. We can say that we fulfilling many our
obligations?
Obligations, and we approaching NATO standards in military, and in next several months we will fulfill it, and after that we can ask, for example, to the next for the next stage of our development, asking about membership action plan. So I personally do not believe that this summit will provide us with membership action plan or something similar, and we have to show that we already made progress.
Well, hopefully the Ukrainian delegation is going to do everything in its effort to show the other NATO leaders that Ukraine is fast approaching to the set goal. Thank you so much for coming and for this conversation. That was Andriy Karakuts. He's a senior research fellow at the National Institute for Strategic Studies. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned with UATV.